everyone's having a wonderful day here today. Sorry, I was having too much. I was having too much fun with the with the Riker there. That was just me being a silly goose. Anyways, I'm gonna pop on. Let me see. Where's the button? Need to find the button. I'm just letting everyone sit here, listen to my disembodied voice. Alright, here we are. Hello! Hi, everybody! Oh, let me get my music back on. Let's see. Where's my music? Music? No! Give me a second, everyone. I gotta find my lovely music. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? No! Where'd you go? Well, I'll do... Can I do this? Will this work? Oh, I could do that. Y'all hate me for that because it'll just play on endless loop. We'll do this. Here we are. We'll do that, and then hopefully, there we are. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well today. Hello. So, yes, hello. Mau Mau, heart to you. Grumpy Old Nor, good to see you. Molly Manning, hello. X, good to see you. Homebody. Joe M Design, good to see you. Lame Motif, Person. Vanessa, Doug, heart to all of you. It's good to see everybody. Sorry I can't say hi to everyone. Lewis, good to see you. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day and taking care of yourselves and everyone's just having fun. Oh, Mighty Jinjojo. Both, Super Desi as well. Good to see you. Rowan is good to see you. But Mighty Jinjojo, I saw that you played, what did you just played, was it Outer Wilds? I know you just played Control, which I love, but you said you were gonna start Outer Wilds. Legitimately one of my favorite games of all time, so I'm excited for you. Hey, Miranda, good to see you as well. Anyways, yes, hello everybody. Finally caught, Jimmy Nails, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. I've missed your face as well. The Forgotten City, that's what it was. It wasn't Outer Wilds, Forgotten City. That was the game. I knew it was a game of like you're like going through all some of my favorite games. Forgotten City, that was the game. But yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to the live stream. My hair is all weird today, but ignore that. That's my vanity coming through. Yeah, welcome to the chat stream where if you're new to this, I hang out for about an hour. I just try and talk about what all you want to talk about, so I try to pay attention to the chat as best I possibly can. Obviously, I can't catch everything. Super chats get hearts, just like Lady Tyler Bio Rodriguez just did. I'll look at your super chat in just a second. But I start heart super chats and I try to answer those questions, but I also try to pay attention to the chat as best I can. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's taking care of themselves. Outer Wilds broke my brain when I tried. I know. Miranda, I adore Outer Wilds so much. In fact, I love it so much that I think you can see I have the ignore the chip on the wall there from someone else, but you can see my Outer Wilds poster right there. Because it is one of my favorite games. It's just, I love the sense of exploration. And it's sad because it's one of those games that you can't play twice. Like, once you played it once, you can't really ever play it again because the game is about the exploration part of it. And I think that's what makes it really special. It's such a unique and wonderful game. But Lady Tyler, heart to you, let me just quick check out your super chat. It says, hey, Jessie, just wanted to mention my pirate conference went well. Proudly presented female. Hell yes! The Polish historian liked it. Published in September, so close to first trans pirate historian. Hell yes! Hell yes! Be the first trans pirate historian. You are awesome. That is absolutely fantastic. Congratulations, my friend. I'm really glad for you. That's absolutely wonderful. Mwah. Sending you love. Andrew Clegg, does super chat work? It does work. Thank you, Andrew Clegg. Heart to you. Punk Actuality, it's good to see you. It's been too long. Sending love and solidarity from Narm, Melbourne. It's Melbourne. Melbourne, right? I'm like trying to say with the Australian accent. I will say, people, I did a video earlier this week about sadly frustrating stuff with the neo-Nazis that were walking in Melbourne. Which, you know, I won't get into the whole thing with that right now, but what I will say is people rightfully critique me not knowing my geography of Australia, number one, fair, and I also said Melbourne, which is the American way to say Melbourne, so hopefully I'm getting it right now, or close to it. At least, you all know me. I cannot pronounce anything for crap. I am the worst person to expect any sort of correct pronunciations of anything, including my own name sometimes. So forgive me my terrible pronunciation. But I hope you're doing good. But also good. We won't let the tourists have our fashion in our city. Well, that's awesome. I've been hearing at least a lot of people have been, you know, and as I said in the video about the TERFs and the neo-Nazis being in Melbourne, most people, in fact, pretty much every single one of these sort of TERF rallies have been outnumbered by counter-protesters, which is like, hell yeah, and there were people that were really ready and willing to confront the Nazis, but were held back by police, which is, police force is a different conversation as well there, but hell yes to the people who are willing to go and fight the Nazis, because fuck Nazis. Like, fuck fascists, generally. But yeah, no, so that was awesome. So I'm glad to hear that, my friend. I'm doing good, Dandy Miller Gaming. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Shishama, apologies if I say your name wrong, but love and support from fellow Washingtonian New York subscriber. Well, hello, welcome, my new friend, and hello from my fellow Washingtonian. I'm here in Seattle, so I hope you're safe here as well, and sending you love. Mwah, sending you love, my friend. Ooh, good question. Enzo Library, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said Melbourne. Melbourne? Melbourne? Is that what you're saying, Travis Reed? It's pronounced Melbourne? Instead of Melbourne? Melbourne? Trying my best. Alright to you, Jessie. Just wondering what your favorite, absolute favorite game is. My absolute favorite game, I'd have to sit and think about it. I mean, I could tell you a bunch of games that I really love. Like, Control is up near the top. Dark Souls 1 is probably very close to the top. Banjo-Tooie is probably very close to the top. I understand its flaws, but Sonic Adventure 2 is also one very close to my heart. Super Mario 64, excuse me. So Super Mario RPG is fun, but not one of my favorites. Yeah, those are, like, Outer Wilds is up there. Resident Evil 2 Remake is up there. I'm trying to think what, like, some other ones. Like, those would all be in, like, the contest? I don't know if I necessarily... It's hard to, like, say which my favorite game of all time because it always kind of depends on the... Psychonauts 2 would also be in there, too, actually, now that I think about it. But it depends on, like, what I'm feeling at the moment. But those are definitely in there. Forgotten City is definitely in there. Mass Effect, as you can see behind me, is definitely in there. So yeah, those are all ones that I definitely would put in that list. But I'd have a hard time saying, like, this is my favorite, because I think it depends on the time, like, what I'm feeling at the time. But all the ones I listed are probably close, too. Let's see. SCJ643, heart to you. You said just join Patreon today. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the support, my friend. Mwah. I really appreciate you, and thank you so much. It's very meaningful, and I appreciate that. Mwah. Let's see. I'm really struggling to digest the pile of hot steaming transphobia dumped in our place by AK rolling. I sag. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tedros. And I want to be, you know, I want to be very clear with everyone, you know. We are currently living in a moment where it is very scary for trans folks, for everybody, really. I mean, trans folks are kind of at the forefront of this because there's a lot of genocidal rhetoric being used around trans people, and let's make no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is genocidal rhetoric going on right now, and genocides are actually happening. Like, look at the definition of genocide. They may not be literally putting us on the streets and shooting people, but that is not what the definition of genocides can be. That can be a way that it is done, but it is not the only way it is done. You are quite literally seeing that happening in Florida, genocides happening, and the way the rhetoric that they are talking about, like, literally one politician said that any trans person who transitions is dead, because our names or pronouns are different or whatever, but using that rhetoric of kind of basically incepting this idea into, like, they're dead, so we can do whatever to them. It is very dark and scary rhetoric. But I want to always remind everybody that we are here to fight. We are here for each other. You are not alone. We are going through this together, and we are not weak in the face of this. We have each other. We have community. We are pushing back as best we can. So just always know that there is always hope, and there's always people with you, and there is always you know, something to fight for. So that you don't want to shy away from the darkness and not look at it, because we need to be aware of it, but we also need to know that we are fighting for something, that we are pushing back, and that we are still here. So I just want to let everyone know that that is the case. Moving on, though, onto somewhat, hopefully, more fun rhetoric, you know what I'm saying, fun things. Chris B. Heart to you said, hi, Jessie, was so happy to see you at the Chinese Theater for Picard Season 3. I was saying it's Jessie from YouTube. Oh, I didn't embarrass you. No, you didn't at all. It's one of those things, too. I've had that happen a few times. It's really weird to be at that place, especially whenever I'm sometimes in LGBTQ spaces or nerd spaces. Actually, weirdly, nerd spaces more than LGBTQ spaces, but nerd spaces. People will stop me, like I was at Emerald City. People stop me. It's like, oh my God, you're Jessie from YouTube. And I'm never embarrassed. No one ever embarrasses me when they do that. I just always am like, I don't know how to respond ever, because I'm like, I'm just a weird dork. I want to say hi, but I always want to like make sure I make people feel seen when they, because I appreciate everyone's support and I want people to know that I care, that you're there, and that I want to like give you, I want to live up to your affection and your support and your caring. So you never embarrass me. People don't embarrass me. I'm an embarrassment unto myself. So you can't really embarrass me much more than I already do to myself. But I just never know what to say. So it's more I'm embarrassed. You don't embarrass me. But it was good to see you too there, Chris. Enzo's Library Heart to use it side note. Also fellow Seattleite. Hell yes, Seattleites for the win. I love this city. I love Seattle so much. So thank you, Enzo's Library. Stay Hump 10. Oh, hey, you're talking about Hades? I've never played Hades. I know I need to play Hades, but I have not played it. I know I need to play it at some point in the near future. It's one of those games that's like on my list. I'm just not a big, I know I should be more because I'm always looking for like good podcast games and they seem like the best type of podcast games, but I'm never for like roguelite, right? Roguelite? Yeah, it's a roguelite. That's what it's called. Because I know there's like roguelite, and then there's like another rogue type of thing. But anyways, roguelite games where you kind of like do things over and over and over again. Not my favorite types of games, but I feel like I should get into them because I feel like I would like them. But I just, for some reason, they never clicked with me. Stay Hump 10, you said, Harji, you said, I know I shouldn't feel this way, but I love laughing at Buck Angel because he is so full of it, but also kind of sad how he sells out, but his Transpa hat is pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't buy any of Buck Angel stuff just because he does tend to grift stuff, and I won't go too into Buck Angel stuff, but I did sort of do a video because he was tweeting about me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I did a video on my secondary channel talking about it, sort of pushing back against that. Yeah, Buck Angel is kind of a terrible person. I won't get into the whole thing a bit, but, you know, he's fallen very much into transmedicalist rhetoric. I did a whole video on that, where, he is very much, you have to go through some form of medical transition in order to be officially transgender. You have to, like, have some form of gender dysphoria, in terms, like a medicalized version of gender dysphoria. I know there's a capital D discourse going on around gender dysphoria. Now that I have thoughts on it, we can get into it if people want to, but, you know, in terms of what Buck Angel thinks about it, it is very much like you need to have the medicalized definition of gender dysphoria for it to count as being officially transgender. And then he's also done some terrible things too, like he's currently siding with TERFs, being friendly with TERFs. He's being friends with Sal Grover, who is quite literally supported fascist rhetoric, as we talked about in the video earlier. And then he's also done terrible things like out Lana Wachowski, I believe. I forget which Lily or Lana. I believe it was Lana who he outed, which is absolutely horrible. Absolutely disgusting and dangerous and for a trans person, especially trying to like ruin her career, because to come out as trans at that time, still to this day can hurt careers, can destroy careers, sadly, in a very transphobic society. So that was his goal, and it was absolutely terrible. So yeah, Buck Angel, not a great dude. I don't hate the term transpa. I actually think it's like the term transpa is very, very cute. Unfortunately, he has just sort of like associated it very much with himself. I like the innate word of transpa, but sadly he has associated himself with it, and I'm not a big fan, like I said. Jesse, when are you loves Kimberly Heart to you, and I'm going to catch some more super chats here. Jesse, when are you going to talk about Two-Spirit people, Native American tribes, LGBTQ, Two-Spirit people? I've tried to talk about Two-Spirit people, loves Kimberly. I've done a few videos that have included mentions and discussions of Two-Spirit people. But when I will say is I'm not saying I won't do a video on Two-Spirit people, but if I do that, I would very much want to include Indigenous folks at the forefront of that conversation. I shouldn't be. The only thing I would be doing if I was going to make a video specifically about Indigenous folks is I would want to be using my platform to sort of talk about Two-Spirit folks. And it's also important to recognize that, well, you know, I certainly consider Two-Spirit folks in terms of, like, being, you know, part of, you know, the trans community in the sense of, like, I consider them my siblings and people who I like, feel like are part of this community in many ways. It's also important to recognize that there is a different cultural distinction when it comes to Two-Spirit folks in Indigenous cultures, both within, you know, just the idea of Indigenous cultures generally, and also there are different types of gender roles within different tribes and different cultures within the Indigenous experience, because the Indigenous experience is itself a vast array of different cultures. It's not just one type of Indigenous American experience and culture. So, you know, there are some Two-Spirit folks who would not consider themselves trans because they sort of want to view being Two-Spirit within their own cultural context, within their own sort of Indigenous cultural context. And within those cultural contexts, they wouldn't be considered trans because there's actually a place and a role for Two-Spirit people within those cultures and societies, right? Whereas the reason that we consider trans people trans within our American Western society today is because there is not really a role for trans people. We are sort of slotted into, like, when you're born, you're seen this way. You have to be a man, you have to be a woman, assigned by your genitals at birth, right? And so when people realize they're trans, it's because we realize that that role that we are told to be by society is not what our gender identity is. In terms of, like, how our gender identity does not match with the gender role we're told to ascribe to. And so we, you know, transition in whatever way, shape, or form that is, be it like medically, socially, you know, mixes of all the different ones. And that makes us considered trans by our own cultural standards. But within Indigenous cultures, that is not the case. There are cultures within, you know, the Indigenous experience where Two-Spirit folks are not considered a sort of abnormal gender role or something outside of something that someone can be, you know, known as, and so they wouldn't be considered trans because they would be accepted as Two-Spirit from when they're born, at least in terms of our terminology. So long story short, if that's sort of a minor explainer, it's like, I would love to talk more about Two-Spirit folks. I try to make mention of Two-Spirit folks when appropriate within my work, but I also don't want to speak for Two-Spirit or Indigenous folks generally, because it is not my culture, and certainly I will screw things up by not, you know, doing the work to get that right. So yeah, I think that's probably the best way that I can talk about it. I think probably. Loves Kimberly. Oh, heart to you. I'm glad that I was speaking correctly on that, and I'm sure I said something stupid in there. So, I'm certain I said something silly. So, but let's see. Super Desi, heart to you. You said, hello, my friendy. I watched The Prince and Nebula last night and spoke so clearly to me. If you haven't, you should watch as soon as you are able. Also, everyone, you can budget it, join Nebula for reasons. Well, thank you, Super Desi. Yeah, I have watched The Prince. I don't know if it's out yet. I actually got to watch The Prince before it was, like, officially. I didn't get to see when it was put on as a play. For those of you who don't know, The Prince is a play made by Abigail Thorne of Philosophy Tube, known for Philosophy Tube, that she put on. That was a very, like, queer and trans science fiction play that Nebula sort of filmed and was released on Nebula. I think it's really great. If you haven't watched it, like, I'm not even saying this as like a go sign up to Nebula sort of thing. Like, legitimately, I think it's great, and I adored it very much. And I don't think this is released yet. It might hopefully release sometime soon, but it was a while ago. But I actually did a Q&A with Abby just to discuss the film. So I've actually saw it a while ago and did a Q&A with her that I hope Nebula releases at some point. I know they're planning on doing stuff with it. So we'll hopefully that'll be released at some point. But yeah, she and I actually talked about it. And she was great. It was wonderful. And yeah, if you also sign up for Nebula, there's other people you support on there doing other maybe cool queer kind of films like The Prince. I don't know who they would be, but I'm sure there's someone. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. This is a weird thing that I'm doing. I'm gonna this motion. It's not a good motion to do on camera, is it? Anyways, we'll stop that. I'm gonna drink some tea real quick. Anywho. I'm sorry, everyone. Okay, heart to you, my friend. You said, never had an agenda. I fly by the seat of my pants with no regard to the future. Hell yeah! That's the trans agenda. We don't know what we're doing. Ah! It's a fair agenda. I never know what I'm doing ever. I just hope for my best. Let's see. Is it Steve Shives? Yes, it's Steve Shives. What's your favorite comedy websites / series for when you need a pick-me-up? Ooh, that's a great one, Andrew Clegg. I love that. So in terms of like online stuff that I really love, I love anything by Brian David Gilbert. Brian David Gilbert, especially his Unraveled series for Polygon, I just always makes me smile and brings me joy. I think Brian is one of the masters of comedy. He's just so funny and clearly has influenced me in some ways. In terms of like series, like my sort of like garbage TV show, and I don't say garbage in terms of it's bad, it's just sort of like something that I like put on just to enjoy. I don't have to like pay super close attention to or anything like that. Taskmaster. I love Taskmaster. It's one of my personal favorites so much. Jessie 64. I loved 64. Oh my god, like 64-bit video games. Like the N64 era of video games. And I guess 64-bit isn't the same thing, but like the N64 era of video games is like my favorite era of video games. That and like I guess the PlayStation 2 era is the same era, isn't it? No, that would be the N64 into like the GameCube, PlayStation 2 era. Favorite era of video games, personally. Anywho, but Taskmaster's up there. In terms of like ongoing shows, I don't like. It's Futurama is definitely on there. The Good Place is a personal. I adore The Good Place. Even though it is very much like steeped in Obama era politics, I also really love Parks and Recreation because it does have that sort of hopeful, aspirational view of things. I do really like it. It is very Obama era politicsy in a lot of its senses, but I think it works on the sense of like local government sort of focus that I think really works for Parks and Rec. In fact, actually, friend of the channel that I'm Jose just recently did a video about Parks and Recreation. It was really, really good. So yeah, those are probably my big ones that I really enjoy that I think about. I'm trying to think if there's any other TV shows that I watch as sort of like comfort things. Yeah, those are probably the biggest ones, I would say. Taskmaster's probably the big one right now. I love Taskmaster. I just love the crap out of Taskmaster. Stephen McCallie, sorry, but Heart to You said, sorry, but direct violence was just the only thing left to us. A love from Turf Island. Yeah, very much. I will not go too far into this because it probably is not a good thing to discuss on a stream that will be saved, but I do not disagree with you. I do think that, you know, there was a time where, I hoped things could be resolved completely nonviolently. At this point, while I do think that there are things we should do within the system to try to help, like voting. I am always someone like, please vote, even though I do think it is harm reduction. I don't view voting as the solution to anything. I view it as harm reduction. And things like that. I do think there's times where you need to throw a brick, do a stonewall sort of thing. It seems to me that is becoming more and more the case, in many senses, and hope, potentially more, but that's where I'll leave it at now for the stream. But sometimes you need to throw a brick at a Nazi, in terms of a stonewall, sense. So I'll leave it there for now. And that's what we'll stop at. Again, only so much I can really say on a YouTube stream. Tracy Dale, Heart to You. You said, first time I've been able to make a live chat in a while. Happy I could tonight. Well, thank you. It's good to see you, Tracy Dale. Heart to You. I adore you, and I'm glad you're here, my friend. Mwah. Let's see. Geek Filter, Heart to You. Are you going to be at the Trek Trivia Night tomorrow in LA, hosted by Aaron? Hope so. Sadly, no. I was hoping, the plan actually was, so Geek Filter, good to see you, by the way. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. Aaron McDonald, who is a friend of mine, the advisor, the science advisor for the Star Trek franchise as a whole, and also, the producer on my short film that I'm doing. She's amazing, by the way, in that role. She's kicking butt. Wait until you see some of the things that we've been able to do, just already. We're just in the casting and crew phase. I'm just saying Aaron is amazing. But we'll leave it there for now because I can't say too much. But anyways, yeah, in Los Angeles at the Scum, I believe it's happening at the Scum and Villainy bar, the Star Wars bar. Aaron is holding a Star Trek themed trivia night there, and I was actually planning on originally going to that because this was the month that we're in right now, March, was going to be, we were going to be doing a Kickstarter for my short film. Like this whole month was just gonna be kickstarting the short film, and I was actually planning on being there to help promote the short film and everything like that. But since Nebula picked up the thing, I actually have not needed to pay to go down to LA to do all those things. So it's yeah. So I am sadly not going to be there, but I will be in LA next month for some stuff. So I will be in LA in the near future, Geek Filter. So hopefully I'll be able to catch you again. But yeah, I won't be there. Danny Doyle, a heart to you. I just saw your super chat, but sending you love. I'm hoping you're feeling better, my friend. Thank you so much. Sending you love. Let's see. Oh, my computer's being weird. Why are you being weird, computer? Okay. Sorry, Geek Filter. I think I missed a few super chats. Okay, there we are. Beardly Interesting, you're way too generous with your super chats, my friend. I appreciate it so much, but it's so generous. Heart to you, my friend. You said, missed the start of the stream, and finally here reporting in for the Star Trek SDA Let's agenda all over the secret trans agenda. I thought you meant Star Trek the animated series for a second. Let's agenda all over the transphobe. Hell yeah, Beardly Interesting. You're amazing. Mwah. Sending you love. Okay. Let's see. Why is my computer's being strange? It's like left clicking when I want it to right click. There we go. All right, cool. Jahavi Verma, heart to you so much. You said, thank you for your work, Jessie. You always inspire me to see both personal situations and wider current situations in more nuanced ways. Love your videos. Oh, you are amazing, Verma. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You are so fantastic. Heart to you, and heart. I'm gonna heart Beardly Interesting again because your super chats are so incredibly generous. So giving both of you a super chat real quick. Also, speaking of that, too, Testy Trekkie, you're also very generous. I can't afford to match Beardly Interesting, but I'll rep for Australia. Thank you so much, everyone. This isn't meant to be like. I appreciate the super chats. Let me be clear. I'm gonna be honest. I appreciate super chats. I'm always uncomfortable a little bit with them because I appreciate the support. They do help me pay my bills, but I also want people to take care of themselves. So super chats are appreciated. I adore you. I always want to give thanks for them, but I also want everyone to know that I just appreciate your presence and adore you very much. So just thank you. I hate capitalism. It sucks. It sucks. So just thank you for supporting me, and I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. Let's see. Catching up. Maidenless, Just of the Chaos, heart to you. Community, sorry, where's my jetpack before you said Community is one of my big favorite. Yeah, Community is a great one. Oh, Madeline and George say hi. Well, send Madeline and George some love. Ice Nikki 011. Nice Nikki 0102. I said Madeline and George some love as well. Heart to you, my friend. Anyways, sorry, Maidenless, Just of the Chaos, heart to you again. You said, all the love. My 11-year-old came out in Texas, and that renewed my drive to fight legislation here. I'm not waiting for, and then they came for me. Well, number one, let me say, separately from all the nonsense of the world, my love to you and your 11-year-old. I'm going to use they, them pronouns because I don't know what their gender identity is. So my love to them and to you. And it sounds like you are an amazing parent who is not only caring for your child, but also fighting for your child in the larger world. And I am sorry that you have to do that. It sucks that you have to do that, especially, in Texas right now. But I want you to know that, I send you love and adore you. And thank you so much for being here. And I'm just sending you love for being a kick-ass parent. Oh, no pun intended. Heart to you. Oh, everyone should go subscribe to No Pun Intended. I was on their channel, not the channel, their podcast a few weeks ago, and we talked about like board games and Star Trek and fun stuff like that. So it was a really great conversation. I really adored it. So you should go check out No Pun Included. No Pun Included, excuse, not pun intended. No Pun Included. Their channel's great if you love board games. And they were absolutely wonderful for the podcast. So good to see you, my friend. Heart to you. Hey, Aronok, good to see you as well. Aronok, good to see you. What was I? Sorry, I just got a text message. Oh, that was just notifying me of the live stream. Funny. But yes, Aronok, we should watch a movie this weekend or something. We'll figure something out. But good to see you, Aronok. And I'm also glad, by the way, I know we haven't said anything. I'm glad that your GoFundMe was fulfilled. So I'm very glad. Heart to you. SCJ643 Heart to You said, I recently finished reading Wandering Sun and love me for who I am. Wandering Sun really made me think about myself. I wonder what your thoughts are on Wandering Sun. What is Wandering Sun? I actually don't even know what that is. Is it a book, Wandering Sun? It's a Japanese manga, which is probably why not that I hate Japanese manga. I don't have anything against manga, but I just don't read a bunch. I'll have to check it out. I sadly don't have any, praise a tall transgender boy who at the beginning, oh! It's a trans-focused one. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, hell yeah. That's wonderful. I will have to check that out. Oh, 1 second, everybody. I can hear Newt scratching at the door. Do everyone want to say hi to Newt real quick? Because I can hear him scratching at the door here. Come here, bud. Yeah? You are revealed to the world. Hello. Oh, my God. You want to come up? No? What are you doing? What are you doing? There are people waiting. Okay. He's being a little prince. Good buddy. Alright. Alright. Wha. He might come up and say hi. If you're gonna come up, bud, come here. We'll see if he comes up. He's hiding out under the desk right now. But yeah, I'll have to check that out, SCJ. I actually don't know that. I don't know either of those. I haven't checked them out, but I'll check them out. Akita, Heart to You said just stop by to say hi. Thank you so much. You are lovely. I send you love. Millennium Quartz, Heart to You as well. Used to trans guy. Hear your vids to help me more than you can imagine. $5 isn't nearly enough to express my gratitude, but thank you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. You have already expressed your gratitude. Money is not the way to express gratitude. Money is appreciated and helps you pay bills, but that is just because we live in a capitalist society. What is more important? Hi, buddy. You gonna come up? What is more important to me is just I appreciate your presence. That is the wonderful gift, and your gratitude is very much appreciated. Monetary amount is not how we express gratitude. It's just a way that we have to help each other make things. Hi, bud. You are lovely. Let's see. Alright, sorry, I'm catching. Why is my computer's being really weird? Sorry, everyone. It's just being like, it keeps wanting to right click when I want it to left click. I think my mouse might be freaking out a little bit. Alright, catching up real quick. Okay. Elliot saying, thank you for being courageous and intelligent voice of the movement, Sally. Oh, well, thank you, Elliot. Thank you for being here. You are lovely. Mwah. Danny Doyle, feeling sick. Oh, I already said Danny. Well, I said feeling better earlier, but you're probably not here any longer. DBNX1701, Heart to You, sending you love, my friend. Geek Filter, Heart to You. We need to talk, chat, Drawn to Tech, maybe when you come down. Yeah, we can talk about it. But I do want to do it with you, but unfortunately I have like busy schedule, so we'll figure it out. But because I at least want to be on a couple, if I can. So Heart to You, my friend. We should ban homework. I miss doing. See, you say we should ban homework. I miss homework. I remember the days. I'm like weirdly nostalgic for the days where I would do homework. And I would watch, like, in between, like, Lost. Like, I remember watching TV shows like Lost, or whatever TV shows were on when I was a kid, but Lost was, like, the big one. And I would do my math homework in the commercials of the show, so it would be, like, math homework, and then watch Lost. It was, like, a good way to sort of, like, reward yourself of doing it. It was kind of nice. Loves Kimberly, Heart to You, my friend. Sending you love. Synth McG Poet, Heart to You as well. Sending you love. No pun included, sending you love as well. CNC97 just moved to Japan from England. It's really nice to watch your streams at a good time in the morning. Thank you for all your work and vids. Oh, well, thank you so much. Mwah. You are lovely, CNC97. Thank you so much. Ah, hey, buddy. Newt. Here, take a look. Newt. Oh, and now you're seeing the mess that's over in that corner because I had a blanket there. Buddy. Yeah? You gonna look at my armpit? Is that what you want to do? You like my armpit? Is that you like mommy's armpit? Yeah, bud. You're getting a lot of love in the stream, buddy. See anything else? Well, glad CNC97 Heart to You. Ninja JC Heart to You. Thank you so much. Oh, Sabari, thank you so much for your super chat. That is very generous as well. Hi, bud. Yes. I'm gonna add to the heart. He's adding. Sabri is adding to your heart. He wanted to give a little extra love for that one. No, hi Jessie. No question. Just here to support the secret trans agenda. Well, sending you love, my friend. You are lovely. Today, heart to you, Spark. You said today they heard the anti-drag bills in Texas and listened to everyone's testimony, which is so powerful. Over 700 people that showed up. Yeah, again, this is something that's really important to remember, as you point out. And heart to you, Sparkfields. You know, if you listen to, I've listened to a few streams of like the people that fighting the anti-trans legislations, and you always see there's always more people fighting the legislations than the people who pass them. And their words are always so powerful. I just seem to remember there was one reverend, I believe, speaking in, I think it was Oklahoma, where she was talking about how people are perverting, you know, her religion to be anti-trans, and her words were extremely powerful, and how she spoke about, you know, she wasn't saying these words for the benefit of the people in the room, but for trans kids who needed to hear it, that they were supported. So always know that, yes, people in power suck, and but there are way more people who recognize that trans people need affirming, and that these things are absolutely horrific, and these are ghoulish, and it's always the minority, usually minority people in power trying to hold on to their power, that do these things. You know, it is quite clear, you know, you see people quite literally saying like, oh, we're using trans, you know, issues as a wedge issue. It is very clear a political calculation being used to try to benefit the powerful. And so, yeah, so it is, they are in the minority, and they are scared and wish to hold on to the power by doubling down on, you know, horrific anti-trans talking points. They don't have anything good to say. They don't have anything, you know, if they had anything worthwhile to say, worthwhile to do, then they wouldn't be using anti-trans talking points. They would actually be trying to get things done. But all they care about is their own power. All they care about is their own power, and they don't have anything worthwhile to say or talk about. So they just double down on hate, because it's all they have. It's all they have. So it's always an important thing to say. Hi, Jessie. I'm saving up for Curiosity Stream and Nebula. Well, like Pockets jingling, heart to you. Don't, if you're saving up for that, please save up for that. I appreciate the super chat, but like, get that for yourself. That's you'll get to watch all the fun stuff on there. Hi, buddy. Hello. But I appreciate the super chat anyways. But thank you so much, my friend. Mwah. We need a trans, which we do. Let's see. Trans rights are human rights. Hell yeah. Agreed. Very much agreed. Love me for who I am made me realize that I want to identify as non-binary % more. Oh, that's awesome. Femme presenting non-binary folks for the win, SCJ. That's amazing. Heart to you. Hobo Zero, heart to you, said, how do you choose a middle name? It took me a year to choose my first. I didn't even think about it until filling out my name change form. Do you have one? Yeah, my middle name is actually Paul. I actually kept my middle name that I was born with, or not born with, that my parents gave me. And the reason is, I actually thought about it a lot, is number one, trying to, like, you know, feminize Paul. I don't like the, like, no offense to anyone who has this name. For me personally, I don't like the name Pauline. It's not my sort of thing. But number two, I liked it because, you know, I do identify as, you know, non-binary, femme-presenting non-binary. I identify as a trans woman because I am treated as a trans woman in society. But more, you know, specifically, I do identify as a more femme-presenting non-binary person. And so having Paul in there was just a sort of like subtle nod to, you know, that sort of non-binary-ness when I chose my name. And then the third thing is, you know, that they're both my grandparents have the name Paul in their name. It's not both of their first names or anything like that. I'm not going to give their full names because, you know, just for information's sake, though they both have sadly passed away. But they both had Paul in their names. So it was just a way to sort of honor them. So yeah, it was that's how I chose my name, to sort of number one, I was lazy and didn't want to come up with a new one. Number two, I wanted to sort of nod to my non-binaries, and three, it was also, you know, referencing my grandparents. So yeah, that's sort of the that's the reason that my middle name is still Paul. Sammy, heart to you. You said oops, sorry. Oh, that was the notification. Sammy, you said, hi, Jessie. I'm a Brazilian trans woman living in Japan. It's infuriating that all this anti-trans, you censored that word, is leaking into my home country politics as well. I am so sorry. Yeah, I see a lot of the same stuff happening in Brazil as well. That you know, they seem to be on a, not the exact same because the context is slightly different, but they seem to be on a sort of parallel journey to, you know, the United States in a lot of respects, considering the election that they sort of like pushed in a more progressive figure than their last, politician in charge, and still they seem to be doubling down on anti-trans rhetoric as well and anti-queer rhetoric, to again try to hold on to power. Or sort of push for power. So yeah, sadly, I'm sorry that's the same thing. It's happening all over the world, And there are countries all over the world that are falling into these. United Kingdom, I believe Germany also had this issue. There's a whole bunch that use anti-trans and anti-queer talking points because it's the way to sort of like it's the area that most people are uneducated about or have fallen into disinformation about. And because of that, it can be used to drive a wedge issue that can be appealing to confuse left-leaning folks to fall into far-right rhetorics, to authoritarian rhetorics. It's like, oh, they're mutilating children? I don't want that to happen. Normally I vote Democrats, but they're all for mutilating children? I guess I'll have to vote for the other people because they're for not mutilating children. Again, that's sort of like the hope that they sort of double down upon. Obviously, disingenuous, disinformative, and absolutely gross and disgusting. Again, the powerful trying to hold on to power, but it is the case, sadly. Catching up on some of these things. Oh, it's not a biographical manga, CJ. I'll have to check it out. I will look it up then. Another good man. The Bride Was a Boy. I will check those out. Oh, that's all wonderful. Oh, that sounds oh, I love seeing series of videos on transgender. Oh, I'll have to check that out, Lesbiandrea. I am a big you should check out one of these days I'll have to do like a stream out in my living room or something. I'll have to figure out how to set that up. But I should do a stream out in my living room or something, and I'll go through like all my comic books and stuff like that, cuz I have a big decent sized comic book collection and video collection. I think it'd be a fun time to do that. Maybe I'll try and do that in the next couple weeks. I'll figure out how to sort of stream from my living room, and I'll show you all that stuff. I think it'll be a good time. Let's see. Hermas. Apologies. I'm probably Shirazama. I'm probably terribly mispronouncing that, but sorry. Love to hear your opinion about reclaiming the F word. One trans member from a group quit over having a meme with it removed, saying it was erasing their identity as bad as queer, but others were upset by it. I actually haven't. My opinion on it generally is I am okay using those terms within community spaces. Queer, I think, is a word that I feel more comfortable using in front of, cis-affirming folks, in front of non-LGBTQ folks, because that word has become less clearly derogatory and has been somewhat reclaimed. So I'm more comfortable using that in front of queer-affirming folks. Using the F word, which is very clearly a slur and still used as a slur, I tend to be okay with being used as like a joke phrase within community spaces. It's like, I've seen that happen, like, especially like I've been at like drag events and stuff, and sometimes drag queens like, hey, F word, or like just kind of like jokingly over the top, kind of cartoonishly amongst people who we know that it's not coming from a derogatory place. That being said, for both terms, though I think more so for the F slur, I think both terms, quite rightfully, there are people who are hurt by it because it has been used as a slur for so long. I've talked about this with the word queer, but there is like a very generational difference in people who are trepidatious about using the term queer. Older queer folks, LGBTQ folks, don't like that term because it was used derogatorily against them for a long time. And I think that is perfectly understandable as well. And so I generally tend to be on the side of we try to be make people as comfortable as possible in spaces. So, not to like say that someone should, if you identify as queer, I want that I identify as queer. But if there is someone in a space who, is reasonably saying, hey, I don't like that word, I would prefer not to hear it just because it makes me uncomfortable. I have a bit of like, trauma attached to it or triggers me in some way, that I would just say like, okay, I identify as that word, but I will try my best to try to understand your comfort level and try to just not use it in your presence, but also know that I I identify with this word and I'm not going to stop using it completely, but I will try to make sure I make you feel comfortable in this space. And that's generally my sort of feeling on it. I think when you're in spaces like that, I think it's like good to always like set a rule, like sort of have a conversation about it. I've been to like trans supportive support groups where there's a bunch of people that are talking about trans issues and stuff. And at the start of every, sort of session, we sort of set rules. We sort of talk about like, what are we going to talk about today? What's acceptable to talk about today? Whether we're going to talk about, stuff of, SA, sexual assaults, because a lot of us have experienced that, myself included. And sometimes we wish to talk about that, but there are people who may not be comfortable with that. So you say, okay, is this going to be a day where we are going to talk about that? This is a day where we're not going to talk about that. What words are we allowed to use? I think it's worth having the conversation to see where everyone's at, whatever is comfortable level. And you should create spaces where we are able to talk about these things. It shouldn't be that we never do. But you also want to sort of like make sure you're allowing spaces too where it's not. People tend to always want like a one size fits all rule. Like this is the way we should do things. We always should do things this way. And I don't think that's realistic, nor is it helpful. I think, different spaces are going to and should allow different things and have different sets of rules and different parameters for comfortability. And I think that's perfectly okay. But people tend to say like, well, this is a queer space, so this is the rule, the one size fits all for every single queer space. And I'm like, no, I don't think that is healthy or helpful. So I think it's different strokes for different folks. So that's generally where I fall on that. I think it is harder to reclaim the F slur, but I'm okay with its usage in like heightened kind of like drag performances or like in comedic ways amongst queer folks, but certainly not by non-queer folks, and certainly not outside of those contexts. Hopefully all that made sense. Catching up on stuff here. Anarchy Pro Wrestling, you said, do you ever keep with UK politics, especially when it comes to... Oh, yeah. I mean, I try to pay attention as best I can when it comes to trans folks. I'll be very honest. I am not as up to date on, the nitty gritty of all the UK politics. But when it comes to trans issues, I try my best to stay up to date on the UK. I'll be very honest, too. I try my best to also stay up to date on trans issues around the world. But... blame it on the fact that there's a clear sort of lineage of, the UK to US. I am probably more unversed in UK history and UK politics than, I am of other countries. And again, that comes out of, the shared history of the UK and the US and colonization that way, where, again, in our country, we are taught to pay more attention to the UK than we are to other countries around the world. Like I probably know more about UK politics than I do Chinese politics, even though Chinese politics probably plays a bigger role in world dynamics. So that speaks to just the Western history of my country, the colonialist history of my country. But I try my best to, because the way I view it is, not to erase anyone's culture, but I feel much more, I feel much more drawn to my trans siblings in, Brazil or around the world than I would to, an American heritage necessarily. It's something I'm going to be talking actually about in one of my, in a video I'm going to be talking about radicalization next month. I have a video coming out next month that's going to be about like radicalization and how colonialization, especially the concept of whiteness, like being white, tries to erase people from a lineage, history, and instead replace it with like the national history, and they're sort of cut you off from ties from that, and sort of like press it into this like ubiquitous whiteness, and how that can lead people to feeling resentful, angry, cut off from things. And so for me, I don't really feel an affinity towards like America as a country. I'm certainly American, and there are many biases and, things that I have, that I'm aware of, some that I'm not aware of when it comes to being an American. But I would probably say like I feel closer in terms of who I consider part of my community to trans people around the world than I would to like the idea of America, as like a nationalist idea. If hopefully that makes sense to folks, I would hope so. Just checking something real quick because my computer's being wonky again. Cool. Sweet. All right. Catching up here. You recommended me stuff. I want to recommend a YouTube series, and this is Andrew Clegg. Hard to use. You know some more news, but I think everyone here would like to know the Juice Media. I'll check them out. I don't know them, but of course I know the Some More News. I love Some More News. They are, in my opinion, I think Some More News is the best like ongoing news source on YouTube, if not generally in the U.S. I think they do amazing work. I think all of them, Katie Stoll, Cody Johnston, and the rest of the team over there, I think do fantastic work. I know they are very trans-affirming. They're very funny, but incredibly informative. Legitimately, I would shout out Some More News is the best and only news source, as they say. So I definitely think they are, if not the best, very close to, especially on YouTube, almost certainly, quite possibly in all of the United States, because you look at it like the CNNs of the world, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not entirely sure how good they are. But I do appreciate that also Cody and Katie do support LGBTQ people. They've had many trans people on their podcast. I know they've had LGBTQ supportive episodes of their show. So yeah, no, I love Some More News, and I'll check out the Juice Media. I will check them out. If you say they are similar to Some More News, I will definitely give them a gander. Give them a gander. A Gormangander. What is it? Gormangander? What's that from? Did I just that's my brain just went to the word Gormangander. It's like, what the hell is a Gormangander again? What the hell? Did I just say something terrible? Did I just reference something absolutely horrible? For some reason, my brain just like Gormangander, and for some reason, I don't remember what the hell that is. Oh, hey, Dominic. Oh, Dominic Noble, thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Heart to you. What in the world? Well, there's Jormungandr. Some Jormungandr is the world serpent. Gormangander is from Star Trek Discovery. Geek Filter's got it. That's where that came from. But Gormangander is from Star Trek Discovery. Jormungandr is the world serpent. Yes. From Norse mythology. Let's see. Dean, hard to use. As much love to you, Jessie, your ray of light. Do you like Ghibli movies? Any personal favorites, and do you prefer films by Takahata or Miyazaki? I prefer Miyazaki. And probably my two favorites are I adore Spirited Away, quite obviously, but also Princess Mononoke? Yeah, Princess Mononoke. Those are my two favorites. In fact, I have the little wood spirits. If I can find them. Do I have them up here still? Yeah, here they are. I have the little wood spirits here from Princess Mononoke. Let's see if I can get it on. Oh no! Just dropped them. They're actually glow in the dark too. But I have a few of them hiding on my shelf over there, because I love Princess Mononoke. Not as big a fan. I appreciate Totoro and a few others like Howl's Moving Castle and things like that. But I'm less a fan of them than certainly than others are. Kiki's Delivery Service. So yeah, my true favorite would be Spirited Away and Princess Mononoke. I love the rest, but those two specifically I think are the ones that resonate the most with me. So oh, Catherine, heart to you. We need to talk, Catherine and Beth. I am so sorry. I've been so busy, so apologies that we have not connected. Catherine and Beth, heart to you. That is incredibly generous, my friend. You are amazing. Mwah. We need to chat, Catherine and Beth. I'll catch up with you soon. Anna's tweet, Chloe, heart to you, said Anna's tweet was very self-centered. Her response to people were bullish, and I believe she was only going to get worse over time. We need to talk about rising transphobia on the left. Yeah, I mean, Chloe, we were talking about Anna Kasparian's tweet, which has certainly gotten a lot of notoriety. I will say, now, if you want my full thoughts on that situation, I did a whole video on my secondary channel talking about that tweet and my thoughts on that tweet, so I'll sort of shove it over there if you want to hear my full thoughts on the situation. But to get at the core of what you are saying, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before, about how transphobia is being used as a wedge issue to sort of, push left-leaning folks or liberal-leaning folks, I should say, people who are still within sort of the neoliberalist view of the world, but on the liberal side of that, the sort of like false dichotomy there, and even leftist-leaning folks as well, get them further and further into more right-leaning causes through transphobia. And we see this quite often with the rhetorics that you are talking about here, because what I see with Anna being an example of, but I'll sort of move beyond Anna. But this is just a sort of process that we see ongoing quite a lot, is that someone will say something that is... Someone will start to hear something or start to believe disinformation around transgender people, like for the example that Anna sort of showcases to us is like, trans people are saying you can't say the word woman, which is not the case. Trans people say you should say the word woman, and in fact say the word woman more often, and apply it to more people. In fact, the people that are saying you can't use the word woman for certain people would be TERFs, saying trans women are excluded from the word woman. But for trans people, we're saying, yes, please, more people say the word woman. I am a trans woman. More people use the word woman. Apply the word woman more often. But people will fall into that sort of disinformation pipeline. And because our systems that we have set up, with places like Twitter being an example of, and probably the most heightened example of, but it is by no means the only version of this. So I want to be clear on that, but Twitter is very much the more exposed version of this, is we tend to view people in antagonistic binaries, whether you're for me or against me, which is a very fascistic sort of phrasing, but it is not exclusive to fascistic thinking. Neoliberalist thinking always sort of frames things as for or against. You're a consumer or you consume. You are a consumer or you create things. You are, right or left. You are liberal or Republican, right? And so because of that, when someone says those things, the system wants us to view them as at odds with us. And as a result, while people will still give nuanced takes of those things, we start to create an antagonistic conversation that is there to sort of win the conversation, or sort of beat the other person, or sort of win the conversation, rather than trying to create a constructive conversation that sort of hopefully comes to some sort of catharsis and sort of praxis, right? And Twitter is by very clearly the biggest example of this, because it is so clear that Twitter is built upon that, about how when you quote, people know the rules, right? If you quote tweet someone, that means you're trying to go send people after them, right? And it's sort of like, and context gets stripped because you only can say so many things, so you have the character limit allows for like nuance to be stripped away. I can't tell you how many tweets that I've like had to debate whether I even want to tweet it because I had to remove a specific word that I know would like remove crucial nuanced context to something. So Twitter kind of creates that sort of like antagonistic binary thinking, right? And because of that, it sort of creates people to push further and further to, one direction or the other, and it creates these very polarized viewpoints. And because trans issues are so filled with disinformation, or people aren't educated on it, people will say something wrong, and because we view people in those antagonistic binaries, people will start to fall further and further into transphobic rhetoric because they have fallen on the wrong side of that disinformation pipeline. That's the goal of disinformation, to make people fall into an anti-trans viewpoint and then funnel further into that pipeline of radicalization because they are viewed as an antagonistic binaries, and our culture sort of wants to essentialize you as that thing. So it sort of creates and funnels that constantly over and over again. So when we talk about transphobia in leftist spaces, or anti-trans rhetoric in leftist spaces, I think the term that is better to use than transphobia, then it starts there and sort of creates that sort of pipeline to these rhetoric, because our culture generally is meant to set up antagonistic binaries. So the hope is that we try to create conversations that are constructive, and it's very difficult to do, and it is not something that is easy nor completely possible. And I won't get into specifics on this, but as many of you know, there was like a whole dogpiling campaign that happened to me on Twitter like a month or so ago, led by certain peoples. And it was frustrating because it's like, even if you disagree with me on that topic, and again, I'm not going to relitigate the topic, But even if you disagree with me on that topic, I would have been open to the conversation. In fact, I believed that the whole point of that issue was that there should have been a conversation. But there wasn't. And it was sort of like assuming the worst possible intent of me and sort of started creating these binaries. And, it was very telling for me, again, without going into the specifics of the situation, because I don't want to relive it and dredge it all back up. But what was interesting for me on an emotional level is my initial impulse at that whole situation was to get angry, right? But my initial impulse, because people were dogpiling me, right? And there were people who had like nuanced takes there, but the thing was like, there's hundreds of people coming at me, and I wanted to say, oh, fuck you. That's my emotional reaction in that moment. And it's understandable. It's an understandable emotional reaction, but that's kind of what this system wants. Because then it would it would be like, all right, I'm viewing you antagonistically. It's preying upon my emotions to sort of create that binary. It is unfortunate now that I don't even wish to talk about that issue at all right now publicly, because I know it's just going to fall into those antagonistic rhetorics and not be a constructive conversation. It's sort of like a verboten topic for me at the moment, and hopefully maybe someday I'll be able to talk about it constructively. But right now it's like one of those, like, I'm not even going to touch it as like a specific topic, because it wouldn't be constructive in any way to me or to anybody, So it's one of those very frustrating things that occurs in terms of creating those antagonistic binaries. It's very frustrating. It's one of those things that just happens, because of the way our system is set up. And last note that I'll say, hi, new buddy. Last note that I'll say, and I'll have to wrap up the stream too, but I want to get to some of the super chats really quickly. But the last thing that I will say on this is that, I always want to, when I discuss these systems, it is important to kind of hold two truths at the same time that might somewhat be at odds with each other, but it's kind of how we have to talk about these things. Is we can recognize that these pipelines exist and that these systems exist and that these systems work to create people that fall into these pipelines. And so our system is quite literally set up to funnel people this way, and it will constantly try to generate these people who fall further and further into anti-trans talking points. The goal of these systems is to constantly generate them. It's why when I was talking about like Kelly J. Keene Minshall at the TERF rally, it's like Kelly J. Keene Minshall is a problem, and we need to stop her in her turfy fascistic rhetoric. But removing her from her position as like a figure in the TERF movement will not stop the issue, because the turfy sort of sphere will just create another version of her with time and replace her, because the system will always create someone like her, just like the system will always create a man like Donald Trump, the little CEO man trying to go for power. We already see it with Ron DeSantis becoming another version of Trump, right? The system just constantly generates these type of people, because that's what the system ultimately does, right? And thank you for Joel for dealing with that. But anyways, it will constantly sort of funnel people this way. And so we need to hold that as a thing that we are aware of, that these systems exist, but also hold people accountable when they fall into those systems, right? Because you do have chances to sort of become self-aware, and it takes moments of introspection. Our system does not want us to introspect, but you can do it. It is possible to do. So while I understand that, J.K. Rowling, for example, has fallen into a gender-critical fascistic pipeline that will continually escalate anti-trans rhetoric. She will continue, I'm very sure she will call for violence against trans people very soon. Sad to say, I can already see that is predictably where she is going to go. And so I already understand that as a thing. But you still have to hold her accountable. So we have to understand that these systems will generate people like this, but also hold people accountable for their own actions and treat them as adults who should be held accountable for their actions. It's trying to be both empathetic to the causes that create people like this and make them fall into this, while also making sure that you can hold people accountable. It's like, I can understand how people get radicalized into fascism, and see that and try my best to head that off or destroy that system, or head it off at a certain point before people fall further into those systems, become fascists, become neo-Nazis, become whatever. But also, once you have a neo-Nazi, at a certain point, you just have to punch a neo-Nazi, So it's kind of one of those things that we sort of have to be self-aware of. I am going to go eat dinner soon, but Popcast, good to see you. Hello. I hope you're doing well, my friend. But yeah, anyways, I'm gonna quick run through some of these super chats because I'm going to catch dinner in just a little bit, but I'm gonna quick run through the super chats really quickly. Hannah, Angelina, heart to you, said to the Nerd Fund. Well, thank you so much for that. Sammy, heart to you. I can help you with Latin American and East Asian politics. I should learn some more, and it's one of those things that I'm trying to do better about. For the cause, Davey, heart to you, my friend. You said, Katie, unhappy day with international. I did see that, and that is absolutely horrible. I will direct people to my video on trans women in sports. Someone is... Uh-oh. We're getting a little bit of spam. Just want to make sure that's going to go real quick. 1 second. Sorry. It's either something spamming or... Is it just me? Weird. I'm just seeing on my thing a super chat just coming in over and over and over again. I don't know if that's like something happening. I mean, is anyone else seeing that? That's weird. Or is my computer just being strange and just glitching? I just want to make sure that that's not glitching because I'm seeing like one super chat happening like 50 times from Jehoshaphat. And I want to make sure that Jehoshaphat is not... Okay, it is probably a glitch. Okay, good. Okay, good. Yeah, on my screen, I don't know why. It looks like I see I see one person gave a super chat, but it like came in like 10 of them of the same thing. And I was like, is this person spamming? Or are they giving that much money? Or is it... Because the message is nice. So, weird. I'll message you in a minute, Aronok, when I end the stream before I eat dinner. But yes, anyways, I'm going to quick run through. Sammy, heart to you. Latin America is boiling now in good and bad ways. Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, that it's happening with the Popcast. Thank you for your super chat as well. Yeah, I think it's just a glitch on my end because I'm seeing Popcast like a super chat come in. I think it just for some reason my freaking my thing is being strange. I'm going to try really quickly to try and catch up on super chats as best I can, but I think my stream is just being wonky. So if I missed your super chat, I do apologize. Let me just quick check in here. Jack McAllen, hard to use. Oh, that's a really generous super chat, Jack. Currently studying if I should go to my sister's wedding this summer for fear I ruin her day. Is anyone else feeling this increasing pressure to care more for the comfort of others over oneself? I definitely understand that. It's something I talked about in my... let me get to that one because I'll end on that discussion. Don't give any more super chats right now because it's being weird at the moment. But I want to talk quickly about Jack's, then I'll end. Once I finish with Jack's super chat, I'll end the stream. So I'll end there. But I'm going to quick just say thank you to everyone. Jehoshaphat, heart to you, my friend. Popcast, heart to you. Sammy, heart to you. Anyone else? Jehoshaphat, this rhetoric is spreading all over the world. Israeli said, greetings from Mexico. Yeah, it is sad to see Jehoshaphat, and heart to you. And Apollo Parkway, heart to you. Love you, Jessie, one of my favorite YouTubers. You are lovely and amazing. Oh, yeah, Cade, I was talking, Cade MacArthur, this is a quick thing. I won't go too far into this, but Cade, you said, why do I feel that too many schools are using special ed programs to get rid of all the problem students regardless if they're actually disabled or not? Yeah, no, my mom was a special ed teacher, and that was something that I saw quite often happen. For example, my school, the school that I went to where my mom was a special ed teacher, was in a farming community, and there was a lot of Hispanic folks who, immigrated to work in the farming community there. And one of the things that she continually saw as special ed teacher is a lot of Hispanic kids ended up in special ed class. And that is not because they were dumb or were sort of unable to learn or less able to learn, but because our American system was not helpful for people who are from other countries, kids from other countries, to be able to learn. And it sort of relegates them to these special ed programs and sort of treats them as less than. Let's just be honest. I don't view anyone with learning disabilities or anything like that as less of a human, but our education system certainly does. And there's a bit of white supremacy to that, as well as ableism in that as well, even for people who are white and do have learning disabilities or learning hindrances, things like that. So yeah, no, that is very much the case. There's definitely a lot of ableism and white supremacy, amongst other things, that goes into special ed programs. My mom was a special ed teacher, also the union president for 2 years, which I'm also very proud of her for. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. But anyways, I just want to quick answer this one, the one that I saw earlier, the super chat about other people's comfort. Yeah, I feel that too. It is something that I discussed a little bit in my J.K. Rowling video, in the sense that, like, you know, I was at home for Christmas, and because of what was going on with me and J.K. Rowling, there was an uncomfortable moment where one of my family members got a Harry Potter themed gift, and I felt like I was making everyone uncomfortable by my presence. But in actuality, the reason that I felt uncomfortable, I felt bad, was because they were the ones who had chosen to sort of disregard my safety, my sense of well-being, by buying Harry Potter merch and knowing that it supports someone who is not even just actively attacking my community, but actually like going after me in that case at that time. And that tends to be the case, is like, we trans people, queer people, people of marginalized identities are made to feel uncomfortable by the very fact of our identity and presence in a space, but it is not our fault. And so that certainly is something that happens. What I will say is, going to your sister's wedding, I would only think about it from your perspective. If you are going to feel uncomfortable, if you are going to feel like it's unsafe or something that's going to be mentally unhealthy for you to attend, then don't attend. And that may suck, but I think prioritize yourself in that sense, because it is not your fault. It is not your fault that they may feel shitty about you for being, who you are. That is on them. It is a failing of them. So if you want to go and say, fuck them, I'm going to be me and they can deal with their own problem, hell yeah, I support that decision. But if it is something that's going to make you feel bad, it's going to make you uncomfortable, then I certainly understand. I don't think that's anything wrong with that. But understand that it is their problem. It is their fault. It is their mistake, not yours. And I think that's probably the best way to put it. Anyways, I adore you all. I love you all. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for being amazing. Just to do some quick little announcements. Obviously, I did the TERF video yesterday about, connection between TERFs and fascists in the light of the neo-Nazis in Melbourne. So go check out that video that came out yesterday if you have not seen it. I mentioned earlier the Anna Kasparian video that's over on my secondary channel. But if you want more happy stuff, I have my Star Trek reviews over there as well. But on a brighter note, tomorrow, for patrons and Nebula folks, I'm going to have a comedy video that is focused on Star Trek. So it's a 2-hour video where it's called All of Star Trek Explained as Simply as Possible. And as simply as possible means I go mad over the course of 2 hours. So it's meant to be a comedy video. It ends with a conspiracy board. I start drawing things on a whiteboard. It gets a lot of fun. You get to see a conspiracy board in the making with Star Trek. It should be a lot of fun, make you hopefully laugh, and hopefully give you all a good chuckle. That will be out tomorrow for patrons and Nebula folks, and then next week it'll be out for everybody. Probably on Friday, because I want to get it as close to April Fool's as possible while still being this month, because there's like a sponsorship stuff on it. So it has to be in the month of March, but I'll get it as close to April Fool's as possible. So yeah, if you're a patron or on Nebula, you can check it out tomorrow. If not, if you want to get it early, please support me there, because those things do help me. But if you don't wish to support me on those places, which is totally cool, it'll be out next week, probably on Friday, close to April Fool's Day. So, heart to everybody. I hope you're all taking care of yourselves. Stay safe. Stay out there. Don't forget, it's always okay to punch Nazi. And I adore you all.